In 1863 the International Committee for Relief to the Wounded was established to help the wounded people and the civilian population. Later it was renamed the International Committee of the Red Cross, managed by the Assembly, the Assembly Council, the Office of the President, the Internal Audit Unit and the Data Protection Commission. He was elected to this position in 2012. By default the International Committee of the Red Cross must be impartial, neutral and independent. The organization aim is to protect the life and dignity of people who have suffered from military conflicts and violence, as well as to provide them with aid. The committee is financed by voluntary donations made by member states of the Geneva Conventions, national societies of the Red Cross and Red Crescent, intergovernmental organizations, as well as public and private structures. During its existence the Red Cross Committee was involved in almost all military conflicts and played a significant role of them. In particular during the Second World War the Red Cross visited prisoners in concentration camps around the world and organized safe routes for the humanitarian aid delivery. Such paths have received the name humanitarian corridors in our times. Humanitarian corridors were often used during the wars in Syria, Libya, Nagorno-Karabakh, as well as during the battles for Grozny. But the Red Cross has been associated with various scandals over the last 10 years. The hiding the cruel treatment of prisoners in Iraq, the embezzlement of donations in the Haiti earthquake, the involvement of the organization in the elections in Belarus are among them. In April 2014 the independent journalist publication ProPublica became interested in where the funds collected for the victims of the terrorist attack in the USA on September 11 went. The Red Cross declined to provide details of the report on the funds spent, citing commercial confidentiality. The Russian Red Cross could not report back for the funds spent in 2018 at all. And in 2021 the head of the Russian Red Cross was detained after receiving a bribe in the amount of 30 million rubles. In this way the Red Cross has been accused of misuse of funds, corruption, bureaucracy and concealment of information about donations repeatedly. In this regard, the memorandum signed between the Russian Federation and the International Committee of the Red Cross in 2018 can be questioned. According to this memorandum, Russia should allocate funds for the committee humanitarian activity annually. Was it not an attempt to bribe the committee to attract it to its side in Russia's political games? We only can guess about this. Perhaps in connection with this, the Committee of the Red Cross reacted passively to the request of the Ukrainian government to organize the removal of the bodies of dead Russian soldiers from Ukraine back to the Russian Federation. The International Red Cross ignored this request because this was profitable for Russia. Everything remains unchanged. The bias of the International Committee of the Red Cross towards Ukraine is also evidenced by the fact that it banned the use of its logo on humanitarian vehicles that Ukraine uses for evacuation of the civilians. This ban violates the principles of the Geneva Convention on the use of Red Cross symbols clearly. Though a scandal broke out that the Russian humanitarian convoy, under the emblem of the Red Cross, imported weapons and ammunition instead of food and medicines in the occupied territory of Ukraine in 2014. Likewise the committee was accused earlier of actually serving the interests of the Swiss Bural concern, which was engaged in the supply of weapons to Nigeria, despite all existing prohibitions. The fact that the International Committee of the Red Cross has long been sympathetic to the Russian authorities is evidenced by the visit of the committee's president, Peter Maurer, to Russia, which is responsible for the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. The main topic of the meetings was the Russia's war against Ukraine. As reported, the Red Cross wants to open a filtration camp in Rostov for Ukrainian refugees who escaped from war. With the participation of the Red Cross, the part of the Ukrainian population was removed forcibly and located in concentration camps with subsequent movement and settlement in Russia-depressive regions. Refugees' passports were confiscated for the purpose of Ukrainian subsequent assimilation and deprivation for 2 years. The right to leave Russia. A concentration camp is a place of tortures and killings of people who were captured during military conflicts. Therefore, even if the concentration camp marked with the Red Cross logo, it still remains a concentration camp. The Red Cross is one of the most famous logos around the world, so it is an efficient and showy advertising symbol of the International Committee of the Red Cross. This is their brand logo, which they have registered and do not allow to use it to mark cars with children, as it can affect the capitalization of the Red Cross. The committee has forbidden the use of this logo repeatedly. For example, in Estonia it was forbidden to place a Red Cross onto a hat of a children's toy Dr. Julian. A ban on the logo use was also introduced for pharmacies, ambulances as for toothpastes and hand creams manufacturers. Even in computer games the first aid kit color was changed to green one. With such actions the non-profit organization shows its commercial potential increasingly and violates its essence and mission. Who's next? Maybe churches?